The morning sun stretched across the valley like honey poured from a jar, and Tom Hendricks stood by the barn door watching his old horse Rusty shake off the night dew from his copper coat. And Tom had been ranching this land for 30 years now, and every morning felt like a gift even when his back complained and his knees creaked, like the weathered fence posts that marked his property line. He was thinking about heading in for coffee when he heard it, and at first he thought maybe it was one of the barn cats caught in something, but then he heard it again, clearer this time, and it was definitely human, and it was coming from inside. The barn Tom walked through the open doors, and there, sprawled across a pile of hay near the back stall, was a young woman maybe in her 20s, and she was holding her ankle. And her face was scrunched up in pain, and when she saw him she tried to smile, but it came out more like a grimace. "I'm so sorry," she said, and her voice was tight with embarrassment. "I know I'm trespassing, and I know this looks terrible, but I think I really hurt myself." Tom moved closer slowly, like he would approach a skittish colt, and he could see now that her ankle was already starting to swell, and she had hay in her dark braided hair, and her clothes looked like she'd been traveling for a while. "What happened here?" Tom asked, and his voice came out gentler than he expected. "I was hiking the trail behind your property," she said, "and I thought I could take a shortcut through your land to get back to town before dark, and I saw your barn. And I just wanted to rest for a minute, and then I tripped over that bucket there, and I think I twisted my ankle pretty bad. And it hurts. And this is my first time doing anything this stupid, and I'm really sorry." Tom looked at the overturned bucket and then back at her, and something about the way she said it made him think of his daughter Sarah, who lived in Denver now with her own family, and who used to get herself into similar predicaments when she was younger. "Well, let's get you up and see how bad it is," Tom said, and he offered his hand. She took it gratefully, and when she tried to put weight on her foot, she let out a small cry and nearly fell again, and Tom caught her and helped her settle back down on the hay. "That's not good," he said. "Looks like you might have really done something to it, and you're not walking anywhere on that foot today." Her eyes went wide. "Oh no. And I have to get back to town, and my car is parked at the trailhead, and my phone died hours ago, and oh, this is such a mess." "Easy now," Tom said, and he pulled over a hay bale to sit on. "First things first, and what's your name?" "Elena," she said. "Elena Martinez, and I'm from Phoenix, and I'm here visiting for a few days, and I really didn't mean to cause any trouble." "Well, Elena from Phoenix," Tom said. "I'm Tom Hendricks, and this is my ranch, and you're not in any trouble, but that ankle needs looking at, and I think we should probably get you to Doc Miller in town." Elena shook her head quickly. "I don't have insurance that works here, and I can't afford an emergency room visit, and maybe if I just rest it for a bit, it'll be okay." Tom studied her for a moment, and he saw the worry behind her eyes, and it wasn't just about the ankle. And he recognized that look because he'd worn it himself years ago when money was tight and the ranch was struggling and every unexpected expense felt like a mountain. "Tell you what," Tom said, "let me at least get you up to the house, and we'll get some ice on that ankle and see how it looks, and then we can figure out the next step, and no charge for the ice or the hay you've been decorating yourself with." That got a small laugh out of her, and Tom helped her stand, and together they made their slow way out of the barn and across the yard, and Rusty watched them with mild interest before going back to grazing in the morning pasture. The ranch house was modest but well kept, and Tom's late wife Margaret had spent years making it a home, and even though she'd been gone 5 years now, Tom still kept fresh flowers on the kitchen table the way she used to, and he still organized the pantry the way she'd taught him in the house. Still felt like she might walk through the door at any moment. Tom settled Elena on the living room couch and propped her foot up on pillows and went to get ice from the freezer. And when he came back, she was looking around the room at the photos on the walls and the old quilt draped over the armchair and the well-worn books on the shelves. "You have a beautiful home," Elena said. "It feels lived in and loved." "My wife's doing mostly," Tom said, as he gently placed the ice pack on her ankle. "She had a gift for making a place feel right, and I just try to keep it the way she liked it. She has good taste," Elena said, and then she paused. "I mean, she had, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to assume." "It's all right," Tom said. "Margaret passed 5 years ago in cancer, but you're right, she did have wonderful taste, and she would have liked you, I think. And she always said the measure of a person was how they handled being hurt, And you're handling it pretty well considering. Elena smiled, a little sadly. I don't feel like I'm handling anything well lately, and this trip was supposed to help me figure some things out. And instead I'm injured in a stranger's living room. Tom settled into the armchair and studied her. You running from something, or running to something? Both maybe, Elena said. I left a job that was making me miserable, and I broke up with someone who was making me more miserable, and I thought if I went somewhere new and saw some beautiful country I might remember who I am without all that noise. Tom nodded slowly. That's good wisdom, and sometimes we need to get quiet to hear ourselves think. And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? 28. Elena said. Probably seems young to you. Not young. Tom said. Just at a different spot on the trail, and I remember 28, and I was running this ranch and raising a daughter and trying to figure out if I was doing any of it right and thinking I was supposed to have all the answers by then. Did you ever get all the answers? Elena asked. Tom laughed, and it was a warm sound that filled the room. Not even close, and I'm 62 now, and I'm still figuring things out, but I learned something important along the way, and the answers don't all come at once, and they come in little pieces when you're ready for them and sometimes when you're not. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, and Tom got up to make coffee, and when he came back with 2 mugs, Elena was testing her ankle, gingerly. How's it feeling, he asked. Still hurts, she admitted. But the ice is helping, and I really should try to get back to town, though, and I've imposed enough. Nonsense, Tom said. That ankle needs rest, and besides, it's nearly noon, and you should have some lunch before you go anywhere, and I was planning to make sandwiches anyway, and do you like turkey? Elena looked like she might protest, but her stomach growled loudly, and they both laughed. I guess that answers that, she said. Over lunch, at the kitchen table, Elena told Tom about her life in Phoenix and her job as a graphic designer that paid well but left her feeling empty, and her ex-boyfriend who was nice enough but wanted her to be someone she wasn't, and her family who loved her but didn't quite understand why she wasn't satisfied with a good job and a nice boyfriend and a comfortable life. Tom listened the way Margaret had taught him to really listen, and not just wait for his turn to talk, and when Elena finished, he was quiet for a moment before speaking. Can I tell you something I learned the hard way? Tom said, and you don't have to take my advice, but I'm old enough now that I get to give it whether people want it or not. Elena smiled. I'm listening. Comfort and happiness aren't the same thing, Tom said. And for a long time I confused the two, and I had this ranch and it provided for us and it was comfortable, but I wasn't happy, and I was just going through the motions, and then Margaret got sick, and suddenly I realized I'd been wasting time being comfortable instead of being alive. What did you do? Elena asked. I started paying attention, Tom said, to the small things and the way the light hit the mountains in the morning and the sound of Krusty's hooves on the dirt and the taste of really good coffee and the feeling of accomplishment after a hard day's work. And I stopped waiting for happiness to arrive and started noticing it was already here in little moments I'd been too busy to see. Elena was quiet, and Tom could see tears forming in her eyes. I'm scared, she said softly. I'm scared I left my job and my relationship, and I'm scared I made a huge mistake, and I'm scared I won't find anything better, and I'm scared I'm running out of time to figure out my life. Tom reached across the table and patted her hand. 28 isn't running out of time, and it's barely getting started, and the fact that you're scared means you're doing something brave, and comfort doesn't require courage, but growth does. My ankle really hurts, Elena said suddenly, and then she laughed through her tears. I'm sorry that just came out, and I don't know why I said that. Tom chuckled. Because sometimes when we're dealing with emotional pain, a little physical pain reminds us that we're still here and still feeling things and still alive, and that's okay. They spent the afternoon talking, and Tom told her about running the ranch and about Margaret and about his daughter Sarah, who called every Sunday, and about the mistakes he'd made and the lessons he'd learned, and Elena told him about her dreams of starting her own design business and her love of hiking and her complicated relationship with her mother and her fear that she'd disappointed everyone. Around 4 o'clock, Tom helped Elena out to his truck and drove her into town to get her car, and her ankle was feeling better with the rest and ice, and she could put some way.